What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Sell It or Shelve It, the series where I go through movies that I own in my collection but have never actually seen and decide whether to sell them or shelve them. The movie we're talking about today is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, starring Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet. Now, this is a movie that I was very familiar with prior to seeing it. Obviously, I owned it, and I knew a lot about it. I knew that it was kind of a breakaway from Jim Carrey's normal sort of movies that he had done, primarily being a lot of comedies. And it was at this point in his career he was trying to transition into doing a little bit more different things. He would do some horror adjacent things like Number 23, and obviously this, which is obviously more dramatic. So it was a movie I was very familiar with. I knew some of the plot beats to it, just sort of like through osmosis. You know, you kind of absorb things through like social media and stuff like that. And for some reason, as is the case with a lot of the movies that I'm going to review on this series, whenever there's a movie that I feel like I'll probably really enjoy, for some reason I tend to put off watching them. You know, it's weird. It's like I know that I'm going to want to be fully present for this movie, and it's probably going to be like a pretty, standout experience as opposed to, movies that I watch, any other time. This is a movie that feels like, based on what I know about it, it'll be right up my alley, right? So obviously there comes with that a lot of expectation. And maybe part of that is me wondering if it'll live up to that expectation, and that's why I put it off. Anyway, we could go into that all day, but the point is, I finally watched it. And so far, we're 3 for 3 in this series, folks. Obviously, I'm keeping this one. It's a very good movie. I really enjoyed watching it. This is a type of movie that lends itself well to being rewatched, which is like the number one factor at play when reviewing the movies in this series. Because if I don't find something all that rewatchable, it's more likely that I'm going to probably get rid of it. This is a movie that, as soon as it started, I was like, okay, I see what they're doing. I'm probably going to want to rewatch this again. Going to go into some spoilers here for this movie. If you haven't seen it, like myself, up until recently, go do so, and then maybe come back and check this out if you are interested. So the movie starts, and Jim Carrey is kind of just wandering around. He's going to the beach, he goes on the train, or the bus, I think it's the bus. It's been a couple weeks at this point of recording. And he's kind of just, commiserating, being kind of lonely. And he stumbles upon Kate Winslet. And right away, based on what I knew about the movie, which I don't know if it hampered my experience watching it or if it helped it, but I was like, oh, they've met before already, because I know that this is a movie where you can remove your memories of somebody. And I was like, oh, they've met before, and they're meeting again independently of each other, both of them having removed their memories of the other person, and now they're meeting again, and it's not their first time meeting, but to them it is. And so, but there's a lot of like subconscious things that are stirring that causing them to maybe remember each other on some kind of other level. Very interesting conceptually. And so right away I was hooked. I was like, okay, this is gonna do some interesting things. And it does. I think this movie was very ahead of its time, and I really would have liked to have seen it when it came out. It does a lot of things on a conceptual level that are really kind of mind-blowing. Almost, I was kind of reminded of Inception, because there's this scene that lasts for the duration, a large chunk of the movie, where Jim Carrey is getting his memories of Kate Winslet removed. And so the way they do that is they go through chronologically all of his memories and erase them from his sort of memory timeline, if you will. And so he becomes kind of self-aware while this process is happening, and he doesn't want to do it anymore. He doesn't want to go through with it, but he's not conscious. So in his subconscious mind, he's talking to Kate Winslet and explaining it to her, but he comes to the realization that he's only really talking to himself because this is all in his own head. I just really loved how interesting it was and different than your more, let's say, pedestrian kind of movie like this, because it's not quite a love story, and it's not quite like a romantic comedy. There are moments of that like sprinkled throughout, but it's doing something much different, and I really admired it for that. The way that it portrays people and like relationships, and how like nobody's perfect, and trying to find meaning in another person is ultimately a meaningless task, because that's just, it has to come from within first, and then you know, when you're both in a place of similar, you know, mental well-being, then only then can you kind of create some kind of lasting, you know, meaningful relationship with somebody. And I just found that all very interesting in the way that they explored it. There's a lot of kind of crazy visuals in it, as far as when you're inside of Jim Carrey's subconsciousness. The way that they explore how memories are taken out of his mind and what the landscape of his mind looks like afterwards is kind of cool. And there's a couple moments that are actually kind of scary, like disturbing looking. So like all of that was very interesting. Yeah, just really loved the way that they portrayed humans and like their relationships, and how ultimately we can want things that really aren't good for us, to the point where we have to trick ourselves into thinking that we don't want that thing anymore. It's hard to go into specifics without kind of just going through a plot by plot, a beat by beat analysis of the movie. So without doing that, just suffice it to say that there's a lot going on in here. Even outside of just Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet's relationship, there's, you know, some secondary characters that kind of go into all that as well. Yeah, ultimately this checks all the boxes for me. Really enjoyed watching this for the first time, and it's something that I will definitely rewatch again, and I feel like I'll only get even more out of it upon a second watch and a subsequent watch and so on. Yeah, I just wish I had watched this sooner. Big recommendation. I really doubt there's many of you watching this who haven't seen it, so maybe it's cool to have some of your thoughts on it validated by me, who's just now watching it in 2023, as opposed to when it came out in like 2005 or whatever, 2004, I can't remember. So yeah, that's episode 3 of Sell It or Shelve It. We're 3 for 3 so far. I have yet to watch something that I didn't want to keep. I feel like I put those ones off because I kind of know, you know, going in if I'm going to want them or not, and episodes like that would kind of be more of a dunk fest where I'm like explaining why the movie's not good or why I don't want to watch it. So I don't know, I don't like getting too negative with stuff like that, but you know, as long as I keep it, you know, somewhat informative, I'm sure an episode like that could be interesting. So stay tuned, maybe we'll do another one like that going in where I'm watching something that more than likely I will probably not want to revisit. So yeah, that could be interesting as well. So anyway, I know this has been a while since the last episode of this, so maybe if you like this series, leave some comments, and yeah, let me know what you thought of this, and I'm gonna keep doing them as I work my way through my unwatched titles. So yeah, enjoy, take care, and watch more movies.